The 7 levels of locomotion. In this video, I will break down the 7 levels of locomotion. I will give you an example of a skill in each one of those levels. And then at the end of this video, we will combine all of those skills into one continuous flow. If you're new to locomotion, it's essentially moving from point A to point B in interesting ways. It draws on capoeira, animal patterns, martial arts, gymnastics, dance, and a whole lot more. The reason I fell in love with locomotion is 5 years ago, I was an out of shape, alcoholic lawyer. I was in a bad place, and movement, and in particular, locomotion, really helped me out of a dark place. It gave me my body back. It got me moving again. It got me feeling great in my body. I got mobile, strong, flexible, coordinated, and I had a lot of fun. So I am very grateful for locomotion, and now it's something that I like to share with others. The 7 main levels or planes or zones we can play in for locomotion are: number 1, floor work, rolling on the ground, ground level. This is level 1. Level 2, we have crawling. So we're just off the ground, but we're not yet up any further than that crawling position. Level 3 is the low gait position, so that low squat position. Level 4 is standing. We start to stand up and we can move in that plane. Level 5 is inverting. We can start to invert ourselves upside down by standing on our hands. Level 6 is soft acrobatics, where we start to leave the ground, leaving only one point of contact on the ground. Level 7 is acrobatic, where we leave the ground entirely. The practical application of learning to play in these zones, in my opinion, is one of longevity, because it helps us as human beings remember how to get down onto the floor, or perhaps even leave the ground. So what I'll do is I'll explain what I think are the 7 key zones to locomotion, and we can go through examples of skills in each of those zones and then finish up with a flow combining those skills together. Before we look at example skills in each of these zones, let's just touch on the benefits of locomotion. So for me personally, I just turned 40 and I am moving better than I ever have in my youth. And that is because I am in these 7 different zones regularly. I am on the floor, I'm leaving the ground, I am jumping, I am squatting in that low squat position, I'm crawling, I'm in these unusual organic primal positions. So what this does is it prepares your body in a very primal way to cope with the various rigors that life will inevitably throw you. So you become robust, mobile, strong, and very free and expressive in your body. Level 1, floor work. I lost some audio with these shots, so I'm switching to voiceover here, guys. What I am explaining is that the easiest floor work position, I think, to be down on the ground is what I call the roll. So the roll starts from the 44 leg position, or some people call it the 90-90 leg position. We put a hand down, we fold the knees off to the side in that 44 or 90-90 position, and then we collapse the arm. The elbow goes down first, then the shoulder. We roll over the back of the hand. The knees pivot to the other side, and we reverse that position. And then we can go back the other way. So this is a nice, easy way to get used to rolling down on the ground in that beautiful circular pattern. The roll is a great one to learn because The 44 or that 90-90 leg position allows us to return to the low squat, and it also opens up some other floor rolling patterns onto the belly and onto the back, such as the starfish, which I demonstrate here. So we enter our roll and then we reach and roll over our belly onto the back and complete the roll on the other side. Back the other direction here, we reach and roll over our hands back into that 44 position. Level 2, crawling. There are many crawling patterns, but the crawling pattern that attracted me to movement culture and locomotion in particular is the lizard. I love the lizard because you can start with this high lizard variation, reaching forward with the hand from the plank position. It's a contralateral pattern, so the opposite knee needs to come forward to the opposite hand. From there, we can look to advance this through a series of progressions from that high lizard position. The next variation requires opening or twisting of the pelvis off to the side to allow space to get lower with the lower body. So we initiate the movement with the hand, the opposite knee comes forward, and then we twist the pelvis off to the side and try to touch that hip on the ground. The next progression up from this involves a press so that we can get our upper body and our head down low towards the lower lizard position. So same setup, only we press the head and chest down. Try to touch the head on the ground if you can, and then come back up to the starting position. The final progression in this chain towards the low lizard is exactly the same setup as with those three progressions, except now we attempt to use our upper body strength to stay low for the low lizard. Same setup, and we get low and sweep the hand, move the foot up and stay low for our low lizard. If you would like to take a deeper dive into the lizard crawl, all the progressions and over 13 different variations of just the lizard crawl, you can check out my ultimate lizard guide, which I put together. I will put a link to that video in the description below. You can grab that and study the lizard in much more detail, and you can make this really challenging. It's a terrific skill for the upper body, and there are just many applications and variations of this particular skill, so check that out. Level 3, low gate. The low gate position is characterized by the low squat. So initially for me, this was a challenging position, but over time, my low squat, just through doing locomotion, improved significantly, which is very healthy. This was a position our ancestors used, and it's highly functional. The rotational L-sit is an example of just one skill you can do from this low squat, low gate position. It's one of my favorite skills. It's a lot of fun, and it links together nicely with all of the other skills. Let's slow down the rotational L-sit and take a closer look. If I'm going to travel to my left, I initiate the rotation to my right in the opposite direction. You'll notice that the first hand needs to spin 180 degrees and place just outside of the first or front foot. It places down. You can sit your bum on the ground initially if you need to, and you need to get that second hand around shoulder width apart, and then initiate the sweep of the feet until you're facing back in the same direction you started in the low squat. Back the other way, we can point that direction. The hands go down 180 degrees. We sweep the legs. Taking a look from the back, you'll notice that the legs operate independently, but are also synchronized to be one sweep at a time. Initially, just put your butt on the ground and get used to those legs sweeping in unison together, and you will have the rotational L-sit in no time. As you get stronger, try to keep your butt off the ground. Level 4, standing. The standing position is probably the second most common position most of us are used to. Unfortunately, too many of us are used to this position these days. So in fact, standing isn't as widely used as it probably should be. However, most of us do dabble in this zone in our daily lives. From the standing position within locomotion, we can enter into pivots and spins. We can do sweeps and a whole lot more. So it's this middle zone, and it can be used to transition, start, or end from our locomotion positions. The fun really is in working out interesting ways to get from standing into some of the other zones. So like I just showed, there's that back sweep, which is super fun, which is done simply by winding up and starting a corkscrew-like effect down into that low gate position. We straighten the leg and we spin until we finish in our low squat position. That is one option. There are so many ways you can get down into the ground or back into standing. Level 5, inverting. Inversions have to be one of the funnest levels or zones within locomotive movement. One of my favorite skills to do whilst inverting is the soft cartwheel or the owl. So essentially what it looks like from a low squat position, like so. Initially, when you're trying this, you'll probably have to do it quickly until you get the strength to slow it down. So doing it fast, you can start off just like so until you get the strength and balance to slow it down and make it more pressy. Level 6, soft acrobatics. Soft acrobatics are essentially a step down from full-on gymnastic acrobatics and essentially allow us to keep at least one point of contact on the ground in most of the skills. So an example of that is the monkey flip, or in capoeira they call it the macacao. There's different variations of this, but essentially you start to get an effect like this. You'll notice I'm keeping one point of contact on the ground, but I'm starting to introduce some explosiveness. I'm starting to get a little bit more dynamic and active in my movement. I can invert this one. I can make it more vertical. I can go more around the side. There's a lot of different options and variations with just this skill alone. I absolutely love the monkey flip macacao. I made a really deep dive video breaking down all the different variations and progressions that helped me learn the monkey flip. I will leave a link to that here somewhere for you to click on if you want to take a deep dive and learn the monkey flip in more detail. Level 7, acrobatics. The final level, level 7, acrobatics, is we are now leaving the ground. That's right, we are going into orbit and there is nothing left touching the ground. So after you've spent some time learning some soft acrobatics, you might start to venture into outer space. And that means starting to get the confidence to leave the ground. A good one to start on with this, which I think is pretty safe, has a fairly low risk profile, is the B kick or the butterfly kick. This is a really popular one in tricking, which has a lot of acrobatics within that discipline. So trickers often use this as a starting point for their athletes, just to learn how to sequence the legs and how to leave the ground. It also then leads into other skills. So let's take a look at the B kick. So the B kick is performed starting with feet shoulder width apart. We want to look the opposite way to where we're traveling. So I'm going to travel this way. I'm going to start this way, kick my arms overhead, and I'm going to dip and drive, spot my target behind me, and then I'm going to kick this leg up to get lift off, like so. So with speed, we start to get that effect. Again, I did a more detailed video on the B kick if you want to check that out. I'll leave a link to that video here and below. And in that video, I explained how I was able to turn that butterfly kick, B kick, into a more inverted aerial acrobatic maneuver. So it's a great one to segue into the world of acrobatics. So now we've gone through the 7 levels of locomotion. Let's see if we can combine each of those skills we just touched on into one continuous sequence. To learn more about locomotion, I have many videos on this channel, so don't forget to subscribe. Go and check those out. Hit the like button if you got some value out of this video. If you want to take a super deep dive into the lizard crawl, I have the free ultimate lizard crawl guide with over 13 different variations and dozens of progressions for you to check out. I also have a locomotion course which goes into great depth on dozens and dozens and dozens of skills and different flows and combinations. If you want to check that out, the links will be below also. Have a great day.